There's so many resources out there about copywriting books, which ones to read, reviews. There's so much online and on YouTube, but no one ever talks about like a curriculum of books, because there's just never just one book. Usually you have to read a few of the books together to actually get the best picture of what fits within your mind, what will help you actually write the best copy. So today I want to go over the best top 3 books as if it was a 101 curriculum. So the first one is the Ultimate Sales Letter. It's this one right here. The Ultimate Sales Letter is written by Dan Kennedy. He's like the grandfather of all copy. I mean, within the last, 30 years, 40 years. He's one of the OGs of the OGs. He's actually not the oldest person on this list, but he's definitely within the newer generations, the grandfather of all copy, at least since the early 80s, maybe even a bit before. And as a system, this book is far more practical and functional than it is philosophical. It gets like straight to the technical stuff, which is why I love it and use it as a great reference tool. Now, a big thing about all of these books is that they're going to be they are born from direct response copy, which is great to learn from, because direct copy and direct response copy is perhaps the hardest because it's all about the sale as if it was like a postcard. That's what direct mail is. It's a postcard, and those copywriters have to get results quickly on their first turnaround. I mean, you don't just send out hundreds of thousands of mailers and just hope it's just content marketing. That's not usually how it works. So that's why it's great to learn from these greats, because if you work from that pressured of a level, it can create a diamond out of your copy. How to Write a Good Advertisement. That's the second book, Victor Schwab. And Victor Schwab was a secretary in the early 1900s for a advertising agency at the time. And he improved this firm's copy so much, he went from secretary to copywriter in a very, very short amount of time. And he went on to be hailed as one of the greatest copywriters of all time, especially during his time. An example of his ad would be something like Dale Carnegie. He literally wrote ads for the original Dale Carnegie. If you've ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People, he wrote the ad for the seminar, which is pretty insane. So that should be a good testament to his work. His book on how to write a good advertisement is basically a marriage between the functional and the philosophical. He has sections divided up into functional and sections divided up into philosophical. So let me read you just one section of his table of contents for one chapter. So, how long should the copy be? Platitudes won't answer this question. 8 milestones to a sale. The quality is the quantity. How far will you carry the majority? The vital keyword. The quantity of quality. 22 ways to hold interest longer. How to make it look more inviting. And the form versus substance mistake. And he also has how to decide the best copy length. So he also has sections that are all headlines, and he has sections that are very philosophical at the same time. The Boron Letters. Gary Halbert is no doubt one of the greatest copywriters of all time, and he often proclaimed himself as the greatest copywriter of all time. To me, he was like Muhammad Ali meets Ernest Hemingway for copywriting. He was awesome. He has a whole email series that if you haven't read, you have got to check out some of them. I'll link some of my favorite below, but they're amazing. And they are revolved around direct response, but they are always about great copywriting at the very core of it. Now, Gary's book is practical, but it is largely more philosophical. It's nearly poetry for copywriting. I mean, it's almost there. And the cool thing is that his book was actually written while he was in prison, actually, and it was for mail fraud, which is kind of crazy. But this book is super popular for a reason, and I'm pretty sure that it was not, I mean, I don't know much about it other than it was not his fault, supposedly, is what he says, of course. I think it was a disagreement between two parties of, like, I don't really know. So, he was in it for that, which is kind of funny, but, I mean, which is kind of crazy at the same time. So, it just adds to the legend of him, the lore, because he did sell millions of dollars at the same time. So, I mean, he's also, you know, maybe a Jordan Belfort, an earlier version of that, if you want to think of it that way. But he absolutely knows what he's talking about at the same time. So, and the book is wildly fascinating. And to give you an example, I'm going to go through an exercise he kind of talks about in the book right now. This kind of exercise or thought experiment that he did with his son, because the whole book is him writing to his son about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. That's probably why it's more philosophical than practical, but it's a really cool thought exercise. And basically he asks the reader, if we both owned a burger stand and you wanted an advantage, and you can pick one advantage to beat me in business, what would it be? And so think about that for a second. You know, he labels off the other person probably would want a better location. He'd probably want like better employees, or you know, he would want the lowest price, the best offer, you know, something like that. And Gary was like, I only want one advantage, and it's a starving crowd. And when I thought about that, I was like, man, that is so crazy, because sometimes we overcomplicate things as entrepreneurs, as copywriters, as salespersons. And he kind of brought it into focus, was like, are you focusing on the core need? Are you focusing on understanding your audience and also locating the best version of that audience? And then he goes through like a ton of the best options of how you could get the best target audience, how you could get that starving crowd for exactly what you need. And that's what he wants. He's trying to get you to connect the two, and how you can find the two, and how to best bring them together. So these are my top 3 copywriting books that I would highly, highly recommend. Please like, comment, subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel because it really helps me out. And I definitely want to be, you know, talking more about copywriting itself. I don't think there's much of it on YouTube itself, so I would love to help provide some of that. Let me know if any of these videos helped you. Let me know if any of these books help you. I'll link them all below. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.